Hi there, welcome to Seasons Change. My name is Luann. In today's video, I'm going to be sharing with you the top 20 items that we used most during the Texas freeze. Well, hi there, thanks for stopping by. In today's video, I'm going to be sharing with you what we used the most during the Texas freeze. I just had a running list while things were unfolding, and now I want to share that with you. So, no particular order, here we go. Okay, the first thing is to have supplies to protect your pipes. This could be things that you buy at the grocery store, at Walmart. It's like a little foam box that you can put over your outdoor faucets. If you have other exposed pipes underneath your home, in your attic, there are ways to wrap those pipes to keep them from freezing. Number 2 is some form of De-Icer or traction control substance. We ended up using bags of sand to put on our front porch and on our sidewalks to prevent falls. If all else fails, my husband was even out there at one point with a sledgehammer and a shovel. That is why I have this item on the list. Next item is just long underwear, thermals, long johns, whatever you care to call them. Get a pair. Whenever the temperatures get below freezing, especially here in the South, you're gonna thank yourself for having a set of these on hand. So I heard so many people commenting about the only thing that they had were their pajamas. People were layering in their pajamas. So throughout my entire life, I always had at least one set of long johns, and I got rid of them several years ago, so I actually didn't have any during this coldest week in the history of Texas. So prepare for the worst. Hope it never happens, but I definitely was not prepared in this area. Also, to add to the warm clothing, wool socks, gloves, scarves, something to cover your head to hold the heat in. All of these items are good to have on hand, even if you just put together maybe 1 or 2 full sets that you can keep tucked away in a bin to have whenever you need it. Okay, the next item is fuel, whether that's propane, gas, or both. We actually used both. We had propane for our cook stove and for our heaters, and then of course the gas is for the generator and for your vehicle. Lotion and chapstick. When the air is dry and cold, your hands are going to start to crack, your lips are going to get chapped, your skin is just going to be beyond dry. So make sure that you have some sort of chapstick and lotion on hand. If you don't have either of the two, you can also use Vaseline or coconut oil. Okay, next item on the list is electric blankets or wool blankets. If you have a generator that you feel confident in, then by all means invest in an electric blanket. I know we have one, and it kept us very warm and snug in our bed at night. And wool blankets are great for the daytime. Okay, and for all you coffee lovers, what we used the most were these Folgers instant bags. Actually, it's Folgers coffee singles. These are in the form of a tea bag. If you have boiling water, you just dip it in there like you're making tea, except it's coffee. Okay, let's see here. Next is a Berkey. A Berkey water filtration system. This is not only a water filter system, but it's also a water purifier. I'm going to leave links below in the description box for all of these items that I can find links for. And so be sure to go down there and check these out if you're interested in any of these items that I'm listing. Okay, a teapot. This is the kind of teapot that you just set on your stove to boil water. I know a lot of you may have the electric type, but if you don't have a generator, that's not going to serve its purpose. If you have a camp stove or anything like that, you can still use the teapot, and we used it many times throughout the day. I used my teapot to heat the water to clean with, to bathe with, to make our coffee bags. I mean, the teapot was something that I used continuously. So a teapot, highly recommend having that in your home. Next up is the camp stove. This is a propane Coleman camp stove. We use this to prepare all of our meals. It's just a simple 2-burner stove. And again, you are going to have a stash of propane to operate, but this is how we made the majority of our meals. Okay, an antibacterial spray cleaner. This is what I use to spray our countertops, our bathroom sinks, because there was a period of time there where we were on a boil advisory because our water system had been contaminated. Well, you're not going to want to take that water and clean your dishes or your countertops down. So this is what I used in place of that. And the teapot, again, is how I wash dishes also, just to bring that back up. Something that we realized that we need more of are extension cords. We had 2 really good utility strength extension cords, but that just wasn't enough to run everything that we needed to run. So we were scrambling and digging around. We did come up with enough this time, but it went on my list that we need to invest in more extension cords and the power strips. Okay, coolers, ice, and ice packs. The coolers were very necessary. In a previous video on the lessons that I learned through this event was when the temperatures outside are below the freezing temperature, you can take the food items out of your refrigerator and freezer and place them outside. We put ours in our coolers just to make sure that no animals had access to our food. And with that, we had some ice packs in there to just kind of help keep it cold. And ice was very hard to come by, and so towards the end, when the temperatures outside started to heat up but we still didn't have our power back, we relied on bags of ice. In our situation, we can only store so many bags of ice because my freezers are full of food. But if you're in a situation where you can stock up on ice, I highly recommend doing that, because like everything else, the ice is going to become hard to get. But we did use a lot of ice. Okay, also as far as ice packs go, if you don't have ice packs, what I do is I refill our used water bottles and I freeze those. As a matter of fact, my chest freezer is lined with these water bottles because when the power goes out, this is going to take a lot longer for these solid bottles of ice to defrost. And I feel that that really helped us out in this situation. Light sources. Okay, in our situation, we used candles, headlamps, and flashlights. I do have oil lamps. I do have other types of lighting that I could have used, but it just so happened during this specific event, we used candles, our flashlights, and headlamps. Okay, a generator. If you can make an investment, I highly recommend that. We were able to plug in our freezers. And I also want to mention, because of the, I believe, because of the frozen water bottles that I had in my chest freezer, we didn't even have to plug it into the generator. We plugged it in one time and it didn't even kick on because it didn't lose temperature. But a generator is going to power whatever you need. We were even able to run an extension cord to my neighbor's house and they were able to plug in whatever they needed to use. Okay, up next is a buddy heater. That's just what we call it. I think it's called Mr. Heater, and then there's different levels depending on what size you get, but basically it is a propane heater. Again, I'm going to link all these things that I can down below, so be sure to check them out. Okay, now I want to kind of give you an idea of the type of foods that we actually used. So, of course, during a power outage, a long-term power outage, you're going to use your food in stages. And one of the very first stages of food that you're going to need to use up is whatever's in your refrigerator. So that was lunch meat sandwiches, the milk, the eggs. We had eggs for breakfast every morning. We had cereal for snacks and sometimes for breakfast to get rid of the milk. And again, we had our stuff outside in the coolers, so we weren't really concerned about losing our refrigerated items until closer to the end when the temperatures outside started to heat up. But anyway, we ate cereal, soup, eggs, and freezer meals. that was the bulk of the foods that we ate throughout this entire week. So if you didn't see my other video on lessons learned, I mentioned the freezer meals there. I highly recommend freezing some meals. It doesn't have to be a big event, just any leftovers that you may have after supper, or just cook 2 of one thing once a week, and that's going to put a meal in your freezer. So again, freezer meals, soup, eggs, and milk or cereal were the top items, food items that we used. Along with the food, I recommend an iron skillet. I used mine to cook all of our eggs and things, to heat up the freezer meals. Also on the grill, our propane grill, I don't have that on here, but that can also be an item as your gas grills. We would wrap things in foil. I think my husband even made a pot pie and a hot pocket by wrapping them in foil and placing them on the grill. But you can also do this by putting them in your iron skillet on the camp stove. Has the same effect. Paper plates and utensils with no running water, no electricity to heat the water. You're gonna need your paper plates because you're not gonna want these dirty dishes piling up and attracting rodents or bugs. So paper plates and utensils are a must when there's no power. Okay, I think this is bringing me down to the last item that we use the most, and that is a way to catch water. We simply just plugged off our bathtub in the spare bathroom and filled it up with water, and had a plastic pitcher to scoop out of to flush our toilets. And while I'm on the subject of flushing toilets, this should have been in the video of lessons learned, but I'll go ahead and mention it here. If you're ever in a situation where you're having to pour water in to flush your toilets, bypass the tank. So many people were pouring water in the back tank, and those tanks were cracking, and now they have to replace their entire toilet. Bypass the tank, pour the water straight into the bowl, and it's going to flush right out. So anyway, back to the items. Is a way to catch water, whether it's one of the bibs that you place in your bathtub or simply just fill up your bathtub. We also had one of some of the 5-gallon jugs that you can buy at Lowe's or Walmart, and some form of container to dip it out with. And I just had one of those old Tupperware plastic pitchers is what I used. It seemed to be the perfect size. So I hope that this helped you in some way. I just wanted to share with you the items that we used the most during this freeze week in Texas. And I would love to hear in the comments what items you actually used that maybe I didn't mention. So that's going to do it for this video, and I look forward to seeing you in the next one. If you haven't subscribed to my channel, I invite you to do so now. And let me know if this was helpful to you by either giving me a thumbs up or a thumbs down. This also helps get these type of videos out into the community. Thanks again, and I'll see you next time. Bye.